They called her the Widow of Etherian, a monster who burned cities and ended worlds. As punishment, the aliens bound her to a human whose family she destroyed. But what began as vengeance soon became something neither of them expected. Redemption, sacrifice, and a love so powerful it rewrote the fate of two species. They called her the Widow of Etherian. To the alien courts, she was a war criminal. To humans, she was a ghost story whispered through ruined cities. Her name was Solara, the last surviving general of the alien fleet that scorched Earth's skies. When the war ended, humanity demanded vengeance. But instead of execution, the alien tribunal chose something crueler, bonding. She would be handed over to a human soldier as punishment, bound by neural code to serve him until death. They said it would humiliate her, strip her pride, and remind her species that the once mighty Etherian now knelt before mankind. The human assigned to her was Captain Elias Ward, a medic-turned-soldier, whose wife and daughter were killed in the same bombardment Solara had commanded. When they met, he did not speak. He only stared at her silver eyes, the eyes of the enemy who had destroyed everything he loved. The court said the bond would make them feel each other's pain. It was meant to be torture. For both Elias lived alone on the edge of New Boston, a city rebuilt from dust and metal. The alien woman stayed in silence, her wrists bound by luminous cuffs that pulsed with every heartbeat. Through the bond, he could feel her emotions, faint but real, cold guilt, aching loss, and something darker, regret. Nights were the worst. He would wake from dreams of fire and see her kneeling in the corner, whispering to stars only she could name. Once he shouted at her, told her she was a monster. She didn't respond, only touched the floor and whispered, "We never meant to kill your children." He felt her words like a burn in his chest, not from her voice, but through the link itself. That night, Elias realized that their suffering was shared. Every time he thought of his dead wife, she trembled. Every time she remembered the dying screams of her soldiers, he couldn't breathe. Punishment, indeed. But beneath that pain, something else was forming, an understanding neither of them wanted to admit. Weeks became months. Elias began to notice the small things. How Solara repaired the broken greenhouse in his yard. How she sang in a language that made machines hum softly. Her alien touch healed soil poisoned by war. Once barren land began to bloom again. When he asked why, she said softly, "Life must rise where death once ruled. It is the only way to atone." She never defended her actions, never begged forgiveness. But Elias saw how her hands shook whenever thunder rolled, the memory of human bombs still haunting her. One evening, rain poured endlessly. Elias brought her a blanket awkwardly. She looked at him confused. "You hate me," she said. "I did," he answered. "But hate doesn't grow food." It was the first time they shared silence that didn't hurt. That night, as the storm raged, he dreamed of his wife smiling, and when he woke, he saw Solara crying quietly, whispering, "She forgives you." He never told her what the dream was about, but he knew she had felt it too. The bond deepened. They no longer needed words. When Elias was angry, she felt it before he spoke. When she smiled, he felt warmth in his chest he hadn't known in years. But with connection came memories, flashes of her past, unbidden. He saw the moment she gave the order that destroyed his city, the terror on her face as she realized the targeting system had malfunctioned. He saw her begging her commanders to stop the attack and their cold refusal. When he awoke, he was trembling. Solara was kneeling beside him, her head bowed. "Now you know," she whispered. "I didn't kill them, but I couldn't save them." Elias walked out into the night, rain soaking his uniform. He wanted to hate her again, but he couldn't. Because for the first time, he understood the unbearable truth of war. Everyone loses. When he came back inside, she was still there, waiting, like someone who knew she no longer deserved mercy, yet stayed to serve it anyway. Peace didn't last. The remnants of the alien army, rogue, Etherian machines, began attacking human settlements, rejecting the treaty that had ended the war. When one of their drones attacked New Boston, Solara was the first to sense it through the neural waves. "They're coming for me," she said. Elias armed himself, ignoring the command center's order to hand her over. "They'll kill you," he warned. "And you," she replied. Together they fought, human rifle and alien energy blade against steel monsters. Their link became their weapon. He felt her movements before she made them. She anticipated his every shot. By dawn, the field outside his house was littered with burning wrecks. For the first time, they stood side by side, not as captor and prisoner, but as two souls defending the same patch of earth. Yet Solara's eyes were distant. "They won't stop," she whispered. "They see me as a traitor now, and the only way to end this is for me to die." After the battle, word spread. The widow had fought for humans. The military ordered her capture, fearing betrayal or contamination. Elias refused. He hid her in the tunnels beneath New Boston, where broken circuits glowed like dying stars. In those dim corridors, something fragile grew between them. Not romance, but something deeper, older, trust. She showed him her memories of Etherian, vast oceans of crystal, cities floating in light, children singing to machines that could feel, and he showed her old photos of his family. One evening she asked, "Do you ever forgive yourself for surviving?" He couldn't answer. She touched his chest gently, and for the first time, the bond pulsed not with pain, but with peace. "Then let me carry it for you," she said. That night, Elias felt something impossible. Warmth spreading through the link, soothing his grief. He realized that somewhere between punishment and forgiveness, they had become each other's redemption. But peace never stays. The Human Council discovered Elias's defiance. They came at dawn. Soldiers, drones, orders sealed in cold steel. "Step aside, Captain," said the commander. "She's not yours." Elias stood in their way. "She's not yours either." A shot rang out. Pain flooded his chest. Through the bond, Solara screamed, her body collapsing as his blood touched the floor. They dragged her away as he fell, vision fading. In the days that followed, Solara was sentenced. Again, this time to neural erasure. They would delete her consciousness and display her body as a symbol of victory. She didn't resist. "You will find him again," a guard whispered, mocking her. "In the next life, perhaps." She closed her eyes, and through the faintest spark of the bond that still lingered, whispered across the distance, "Elias, forgive me." Elias awoke in a recovery pod weeks later. His wound had healed, but his bond implant was gone, the connection severed. The silence inside his mind was unbearable. He tried to forget, but every echo of her voice haunted him. One night, he broke into the facility where her body was kept. It lay in stasis, still serene, like she was only sleeping. He touched the glass and whispered, "They said you were punishment, but you were the only thing that made me human again." Without thinking, he connected an old medlink to her neural port. The machine sparked, and for a heartbeat, her eyes opened, silver. "You shouldn't have come," she whispered weakly. "Neither should you have left," he replied. Alarms blared. Soldiers closed in. She smiled faintly. "Then we end this together." She placed her hand on the glass, and energy flared between them, a surge that shattered the containment field. He didn't care if it killed him. He just wanted to feel her warmth once more. The explosion consumed the chamber, but it was not destruction. It was rebirth. The bond reignited, stronger than ever. Elias saw her memories, her dreams, her entire soul, and she saw his. Together, they rewrote the machine's code. When the soldiers broke in, they found only light, a blinding radiance that swept across the city's systems. Every weapon powered down, every drone fell silent. Solara had merged with the network, sacrificing her body to end the war once and for all. Elias survived barely. When he woke among the ruins, her voice echoed through the comms, soft as wind. "You are free now. Tell them we were not monsters." And then she was gone. The lights dimmed. The machines fell quiet. And for the first time since the war, the sky was truly blue. Years passed. The world rebuilt again, this time not through conquest, but through memory. They called her the widow who saved humanity. Statues rose. Songs were written, but Elias never sought fame. He lived quietly, tending the same greenhouse where she once sang to the soil. Flowers grew in colors unseen before. Shades of Etherian, they said. On lonely nights, he would talk to the stars. "You were never my punishment," he would whisper. "You were my greatest treasure." Sometimes, when the wind moved through the leaves, he could almost hear her answer, "And you were my forgiveness." The war faded into history, but their story remained, a human and an alien bound by pain, who turned their sentence into salvation. And somewhere in the silent code of Earth's machines, her song still played, a reminder that even from punishment, love can rise, and from sorrow, a new world can bloom.